Happy Thursday out there in Vol Land. This is Frank Rock. This is the House of Orange Sports Channel. We are on the eve of the NCAA baseball tournament, one of my favorite times of the year. Cannot wait till tomorrow to be able to just sit down and those 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock baseball games going into tomorrow night and then the rest of the weekend into Monday as well. But thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure you like, you share, you subscribe to the channel. If you like the content, I want to say thanks down that bottom right-hand corner. There is that option for super thanks, all super chats. I do reinvest them into the channel to try to help to provide the best all-around coverage that's out there on YouTube. We're second to none on this channel as far as all-around coverage in the all sports. But, let's get right into this regional. So Tennessee tomorrow night plays Northern Kentucky. And then tomorrow in the early game, I think it's at 1 o'clock, you got Southern Miss versus Indiana. So I'm going to talk about the teams, and I'm going to give a prediction at the end of it as well. So looking at first at Indiana Southern Miss, or basically just looking at each team. So we'll go in order. Let's start with Northern Kentucky. That's the only one that's a guarantee as of right now. So looking at Northern Kentucky, again, they're an offense that they're one of the top 10 offenses in all of college baseball this year. They play in, I think it's the Horizon League. It's the same league where Wright State come out of. And if you remember a few years ago in Wright State's got a heck of a baseball team. Now, they're looking at Northern Kentucky's schedule. There were some games that were interesting to me that stood out. And Wright State was one of them. Wright State took 2 out of 3, but Northern Kentucky did win the conference tournament and got the bid out of that conference. So, looking at that as well. So Northern Kentucky played at Georgia. Georgia did sweep them, but there were some competitive games. Northern Kentucky did take 2 out of 3 at Missouri. Indiana, who's the 3 seed in this one, Northern Kentucky did lose to Indiana. Another one they had in common was Xavier. Tennessee played Xavier earlier in the season, and Northern Kentucky did lose to them. So looking at Northern Kentucky's lineup, their main guy, at least from an average standpoint, is Traven Moss, 388, 11 home runs, 66 RBIs, 29 bases. Now, here's the thing about Northern Kentucky. Tony Vitello talked about this in talking about the regional. Here's the thing about them. They hit for average, they can hit for power, and they steal a lot of bases. They pose a lot of threats on you. There's one way to combat that. That your pitching staff has to be on. That's to minimize the runners who gets a base. I think we're going to see the same rotation that we've seen basically from Tennessee this entire time. You're going to see Stamos Causey tomorrow night. Depending on what time they play Saturday, you'll see Beam. And then if they make it to Sunday, I think you'll see Secret Sneed. And if it goes into Monday, then, I think we'll have to see who's available at that point. But I think for sure tomorrow night, the way it looked now, could they switch it up and go Beam tomorrow night? Possibly. But I really don't think they'll steer away from what they've been doing. I think it'll be Stamos Causey tomorrow night. They were asked about A.J. Russell's status, and I think it'll be kind of similar, if not less than what it is. Tony Vitello basically alluded to they may be able to get an inning out of him here and there. You're not going to see him more than that. And here's the thing you've got to consider in terms of A.J. Russell as well. You throw him out there now. Okay, you overdo it. You mess up that arm, and you mess it up badly. It requires a surgery. It puts him out. His career at Tennessee could be done. What I mean by that, it's not that he won't be eligible next year. It's just that if you risk it and you put an injury out that puts him out all next year, odds are now, could he possibly come back for his senior year then and not get drafted? But I think teams would probably, especially with the arm surgeries, higher than they are now. If it's an elbow opposed to a shoulder, I think a major league team would still take a pretty big risk on him. So, or not a risk, they would take a chance on him. So looking at Northern Kentucky again, Traven Moss, 388. You got Tyler Shaneyfelt, if I'm mispronouncing these. I'm sorry, I've not seen him play. So I'm going the best I can. 366, 2 home runs, 37. He's stolen 18 bases. Cleary Simpson, 345. 5 home runs, 48 RBIs, 16 stolen bases. John Odom, 340, 11 stolen bases, 10 home runs, 32 RBIs. I missed this. I totally skipped. Liam McFadden Ackman, 362, 21 home runs, 76 RBIs, and 16 stolen bases. Logan Davenport, 316, 5 homers, 46, 14 stolen bases. And then you get on down, you got Mitch Wood, Jake Pollock, Brennan Rowe. All those guys in order range from 297, 279, 267. All of them have a little bit of pop, 13, 7, and 8 home runs respectively. And then 1 stolen base, 4 and 5 on that. You could possibly get, they have some guys on the bench. I see Peyton Lane, 409, a home run, 11 RBIs. On down, I see, looks like a guy who maybe pinch you a little bit more is Colton Casera. I hope I pronounced that right, 241. This is a lineup that can hit, guys. They can hit. If Tennessee is off tomorrow night, if their pitching's not on, they're pitching, their hitting gets held in check, it could be kind of a long night. Now, what I'm seeing is, based on going back to last weekend, Ben Gerl, Gerl, looks to be their main starter. That's kind of what I'm seeing. If that's the case here's what I'm looking at with him. 7.68 ERA, 5-6 record, strikeouts, 66 strikeouts, 77 and 30. I'm going to be honest with you on that one. I'm going to be totally honest. That, to me, looks like a guy Tennessee can run early. And I don't mean run the bases. I mean get him out early. That's a high ERA. He's not a strikeout guy. If that's who they're throwing tomorrow night, I like Tennessee's chances to get him out early, and I like Tennessee's chances to roll in this one because of pitching. Yes, they're going to have to hit. Tennessee's a better offense. Tennessee's a much, much better pitching staff. Much, much better than that. If they went Clay Brock, he's not even a strikeout per game guy. And then the other guy that started the most for them looks like, to me, Tanner Gillis. Now, he was 80 strikeouts and 72 and a thirds with a 4.60 ERA. To me, an 8-2 ERA. To me, that would look like the guy I would throw tomorrow night if I'm Northern Kentucky. Opponents hit 221 against him. Gerl, 285. Clay Brock, 296. So I'm kind of wondering if we don't see Tanner Gillis tomorrow night. He seems to me like their best option for that. So I think it'll either be Gillis or Gerl. If it's me, based on what I'm seeing and based on how, not just stats, but just, the types of pitchers that they are, I'm throwing Tanner Gillis if I'm Northern Kentucky tomorrow night. Now, looking forward to Saturday. So if Tennessee wins, they'll play, I think it's at 6 o'clock on Saturday. If they lose, they'll play at noon on Saturday. You're looking at Southern Miss and Indiana. Of course, a lot of people's going to be picking Southern Miss to win that one. I'm looking at it as, Indiana's played good baseball as of late. Indiana as a team hits 295 on the season. Southern Miss as a team hits 295. So, all right, so let's go to power numbers. Power's where I'm interested. Southern Miss has 3 guys with double-digit home runs. They've hit 63 on the year. Indiana, on the other hand, have hit 78. All right, stolen bases. Indiana, 33 out of 40. Southern Miss, 42 out of 59. So Southern Miss definitely runs more in that regard. So you're looking at similarity, a lot of similarities on offense. Now, I want to go to pitching. Here's where I'm interested at. Team ERA for Southern Miss, 5.00. Team ERA for Indiana, 6.02. Southern Miss has a little bit of a pitching advantage in terms of that. Game started. I'm kind of looking at possibly Connor Foley for Indiana, 3.71. He looks to me to be their best guy. So that's a pretty good dude going for Indiana. And then for Southern Miss, looking at their pitching, Billy Oldham kind of seems to me like he may be their main guy there, 3.97. That's a tough one to call. I don't think it's as clear and cut as people like to act like on that. I'm going to say we see Southern Miss on Saturday. But I could see that one going in either way with it. And it would not surprise me at all to see Tennessee play all 3 teams. And what I mean by that, obviously you're playing Northern Kentucky tomorrow night. You beat Northern Kentucky, win or lose either way, you're playing either Indiana or Southern Miss on Saturday. I could see a route where, kind of looking at Southern Miss's pitching, here. I feel like Northern Kentucky, if you get past their main guy, I don't think they're I think their pitching will have a hard time. Looking at Southern Miss, if I look at or looking at Indiana first, get to their other starters here. I'm looking at Bothwell, 4.90. Indiana's got some guys some bullpen guys. You get past their couple main dudes here, it does not look like their pitching is very stout. I look at I think Southern Miss has a better pitching staff, to be honest with you, and their starters, especially 3.97, 4.43. I mean, it looks like after that you've got either Will Armistead or Cole Boswell, both of them higher ERAs, which is kind of the norm. Tennessee is really the exception rather than the norm, that you got Xander Sechrest, who I think his ERA is back under 4. That's better than a lot of teams' Friday night guy. I just like overall how Tennessee matches up in this one. So here's how I'm going to go prediction. I'm going Tennessee, Southern Miss tomorrow win. On Saturday, I'm going to go with Indiana's got better pitching than Northern Kentucky. I think Indiana takes care of business against Northern Kentucky. I think Tennessee beats Southern Miss. And then you've got Indiana, Southern Miss again. And that's a crapshoot. Both teams on game 3. I'm going to go Indiana, comes back and gets them. And then on Sunday, I'm going to go with Tennessee, beats Indiana. And I'm going to say that Tennessee Southern Miss game could be interesting. It could be one of those hyped up games. The crowds and stuff are going to be into that one. I could see it being one of those where Tennessee wins it, and then maybe Southern Miss exhausts a lot of energy for it. Indiana puts them out on Sunday in the early game. They come back to play the evening game on Sunday at 6 o'clock. And I'm going to say Tennessee takes care of business and moves on to the Super Regional. Where? I saw some interesting stuff earlier on this one. Initially, when I broke this down the other night, I went with East Carolina. And just because East Carolina, that advantage at home for them. It's an electric atmosphere. It's one of the best atmospheres in college baseball. Here's the thing. Their main pitcher, Ye Savage, I think's how you pronounce it. He was in the hospital last week. So is he going to be good to go this week? I think it said collapsed lung. So what's his status going into this weekend? And reading the preview, if he is out, obviously that moves all your pitchers up a day. That's advantage Wake Forest. Wake Forest can hit. Wake Forest, pretty good pitches. Obviously, we know about Chase Burns, but besides that, they have a good pitching staff. I don't think it's lights out. But I think, obviously, Burns is your catalyst for it. But if East Carolina's down a pitcher, that moves those guys up for them. I think that's a big advantage to Wake Forest. I really do. So if Ye Savage is good to go, I'm going to go East Carolina. If he's not, I'm going to go Wake Forest. So it's contingent on that. And if I'm East Carolina, do I maybe move up my normal second game of the weekend guy to tomorrow night since you're playing the 4 seed? Now, you cannot take teams for granted at this point, but do you possibly move him up? Maybe Ye Savage can go against Chase Burns on Saturday if both teams move on. But I'm going to go with like I said, it depends. If Ye Savage is good to go, I'm going to say it's Tennessee and East Carolina next weekend. If he's not good to go, I'm going to say it's Tennessee, Wake Forest, and we're going to get the matchup a lot of Vol fans dread. And if you're like me, bring on the best. To win it, you're going to have to beat the best. I like East Carolina. Don't get me wrong. I like their program. There's just that part of me that wants Wake Forest. I want to see, whether it's Saturday or Sunday, whichever the second game of the series, I want to see Chase Burns versus Drew Beam in Knoxville, Tennessee. That will be insane. I'm just telling you, it'll be insane. But tomorrow night, I will be live right after the game. It should be around 10:30 to 11 o'clock. And then I hope you guys will be with you the rest of the season. After games, we'll do, the Monday night show's contingent on what's going to happen the next few weeks with baseball. Baseball's playing on Monday. Obviously, won't go live during that. But, I appreciate you guys checking out the content. I appreciate you listening. My name's Frank Rock. This is the House of Orange Sports Channel. Again, we're right on the eve of the baseball tournament. Love it. Should be a lot of fun tomorrow. If you haven't already, if you subscribe to ESPN Plus, it is worth the price this month just to see all the games and have access to that. This is a great tournament. It's one of my favorite events of the season. But I hope you guys have a good rest of your Thursday. And last but most certainly not least, go Vols.